Cheetah versus Cobra. Let's first discuss how the Cobra became the giant that it was before we proceed to Cheetah. The Cobra was another Carroll Shelby creation that came from the marriage between the AC Ace British car chassis and the Ford V8 motor. First, there was the 289 Cobra, which was manufactured to make about 270 horsepower. Still, that wasn't enough for Shelby. There's a lot of fun and innovation in the 427 Cobra, which came equipped with a wild 425 horsepower. The 0 to 60 miles per hour acceleration time dropped to 3.8 seconds. That's crazy fast, especially when we liken it to the city speed in the early 1960s. It could go from 0 to 60 in 4.6 seconds, top out at 165 miles per hour, and hustle through the quarter in 12.4 seconds. This car was unbeatable on the racetrack or roads. Shelby's Cobras aren't only fast, they're aggressive handling machines. With a fully independent suspension, rigid structure, and nearly 30-inch wide tires, it was possible to approach and maintain high-speed turns for many minutes. Thus, they ran rampant through FIA GT racing along with popularizing the American sports car racing circuit, the SCCA. They were small, maneuverable, and driven by the pure muscle of America. Actually, like any king of the jungle, the Cobra had rivals. So it'll come as no surprise when Bill Thomas, a brilliant engineer and racing car constructor who'd been cutting his teeth modifying Corvettes for Chevrolet, enters the picture. When Thomas was observing the Cobra's superiority at the track, he understood that he had no choice. He must try something entirely different if he was to stand a chance against Shelby. This led in 1964 to the Cheetah, a car name that is every bit as mouth-watering as the car itself. It wasn't just the car makers of the period upgrading previous sports cars, but rather revolutionizing them. The next sports car was to be the Cheetah, lighter than the Cobra and streamlined and even more powerful than the Cobra. Here's the recipe. Start with a Chevrolet 327 small block V8 engine, capable of producing anywhere from 375 to 520 horsepower, depending on the setup. Now drop that engine into a car weighing just 1,500 pounds. That's 700 pounds lighter than a Cobra. The power-to-weight ratio of the Cheetah was absolutely insane. The Cheetah's engine was mounted so far back in the chassis that the driver was practically sitting on the rear axle. This allowed for a mid-front engine layout that contributed to the car's unique handling characteristics. It also gave the Cheetah a wild appearance, an ultra-low curvy body with an aggressive, almost reptilian stance. And get this, the body was made from aluminum, adding to its weight-saving strategy. Alright, let's break down the numbers that made the Cheetah a potential Cobra killer. With that small block V8, the Cheetah could hit 0 to 60 miles per hour in 3.6 seconds, slightly quicker than the 427 Cobra. But where the Cheetah really shone was at the top end. It could hit a blistering 215 miles per hour, far outstripping the Cobra's 165. And the quarter mile, the Cheetah could complete it in just 11 seconds flat. That's faster than almost anything on the road or track at the time. This car wasn't just quick off the line, it was a rocket in a straight line. But here's the thing, it wasn't just about the power. The Cheetah's body was designed with aerodynamics in mind. Its slippery, low-slung shape and short overhangs gave it less drag than the Cobra, which meant higher top speeds on long straights. On paper, it had the makings of a true Shelby Slayer. With numbers like that, do you think the Cheetah had what it took to dethrone the Cobra? Drop your thoughts in the comments, and while you're at it, hit that like button if you're loving this head-to-head showdown of two American icons. Now let's talk about the Cheetah's design, because man, it was wild. With that super short wheelbase, the driver practically sat in the rear of the car, leading to a unique, almost cramped driving position. It looked like a race car from the future, way ahead of its time. But that radical design came with some serious challenges, particularly in the handling department. The ultra-short wheelbase and rear bias weight distribution made the Cheetah a handful to drive, especially at high speeds. It wasn't as planted in the corners as the Cobra, which had a longer, more stable chassis. Cobra drivers knew they could push their cars hard through turns with confidence. The Cheetah, on the other hand, was twitchy, requiring serious driving skills to manage. It excelled on long, straight tracks with few curves, but the moment you hit a technical section, the Cheetah could get away from you. Then there was the heat problem. With the engine so close to the driver and the limited cabin space, it wasn't uncommon for temperatures inside the Cheetah to soar during races. Drivers would roast inside these cars, sometimes even suffering heat exhaustion during longer races. One of the quirkiest aspects of the Cheetah's design was the driving position. With the engine pushed so far back, the driver sat unusually far to the rear of the car, almost on the rear axle. This gave the Cheetah its distinct silhouette and helped with weight distribution, but it came with a catch: visibility. drivers in the Cheetah had a very limited view of the road ahead, and the bubble-like roofline didn't help matters either. The steeply sloped front windshield combined with the cramped cockpit made driving the Cheetah feel like piloting a low-flying jet. This wasn't an issue in blasting down a straightaway, but in tight corners, drivers found themselves struggling to see their lines. Driving the Cheetah was so physically challenging that it required serious guts. Has the Cheetah ever come face-to-face with a Cobra? Technically, they can, but it's not nearly as frequent as one might believe. The Cheetah was another car developed to race in the FIA GT class while Cobra was racing it. However, reliability also played a part, resulting in poor performance of the Cheetah. Out of all the Cheetahs ever produced, only 19 units were built, but most of those never came close to achieving their full potential due to mechanical problems. Even in some SCCA races, the Cheetah scored wins and podiums, providing glimpses of what could be. The Cobras of Shelby, though, for many reasons, were more reliable with a better-tuned chassis, and when it came to endurance races, they generally came out on top. However, at its best, it could run in front of Cobras, particularly when flying in a straight line on drag strips. It was the ultimate hot catch, its top-end speed being so much better that if it could avoid getting into trouble, it would be unbeatable in the right circumstances. In that case, why did it not become a subject of history, the killer of the Cobra? It's a combination of hard luck, that's for sure. The greatest shock was received when the factory had a fire that burned several of the Cheetah chassis and the majority of the tooling and equipment of Bill Thomas. This was a massive blow for the small-scale venture Thomas had established, and he never again bounced back. The other factor was the shifting dynamics of racing rules that came into force during that period. Motorsports, especially the GT class, were affected when, in 1965, the FIA altered the homologation rules to demand that manufacturers produce at least 100 cars. The Cheetah never got close to that and, for all practical intent, destroyed its own possibility for meaningful competition. And last but not least, the question of support arose. While Shelby had Ford's support, Thomas began with much less means at his disposal. Chevrolet offered engines but didn't provide the full factory support that could have taken the Cheetah to the next level. Although the life of the Bill Thomas Cheetah was very short, it left a great impact on society. It swiftly grew into a symbol of automotive passion, and to this date, versions of this brilliant creation continue to be manufactured. The Cheetahs have been sold and collected for a lot of money, as the car is still used frequently in vintage racing competitions. While perhaps it didn't take over the Cobra status on the automotive throne, the story of the Cheetah is perhaps one of the most compelling tales of what might have emerged from the world of motor racing. In pop culture, the Cheetah is spotted sometimes in video games, toy models, and as a flunk in car shows. It stands for that pioneering, crazy, insane American attitude. Crazy, innovative, and wild. So what do you think? Was the Cheetah the ultimate Cobra killer which never saw action, or was it just too bizarre to exist? Let us know in the comments, and if you enjoy these untold racing legends, just hit the subscribe button to stick with us as we bring you many more detailed descriptions of automotive history. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.